the morning, sends the sun high in the sky. Who would hide from heaven's glory? Who would pass the challenge by? La 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 la.
There's a morning for every nation when the sun's high in the sky. There's a time for every people to affirm their destiny. La 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 la. Even so, all of us together can create a better land. Leave the past until tomorrow waits for all who understand. La 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 la. Leave the past until tomorrow waits for all who understand.
This reading is from Rays of the Same Light, the Meaning of Divine Incarnation. This passage is from the Bhagavad Gita, the 4th chapter. Unborn, changeless, Lord of creation, and controller of my cosmic nature, though I am, yet entering nature, I am dressed in the cosmic garment of my own Maya. O Bharata, whenever virtue declines and vice predominates, I incarnate on earth. Taking visible form, I come to destroy evil and re-establish virtue. Swami Kriyananda writes, here the Bhagavad Gita confronts a great mystery. God is described in both the Hindu and Christian religions as having incarnated on earth. In the Christian religion as Jesus, in the Hindu as Krishna, and as other great masters who from time to time have been sent to earth as saviors of mankind. Among Orthodox Christians there is no question of any other divine incarnation than that of Jesus. His birth is accepted as unique. The great mystery, therefore, of how such an event could have been taken place is not deeply pondered. It is accepted as, quite simply, miraculous. In the Hindu religion, however, because of the scriptural promise of repeated incarnations of God, it is more natural that there should have been attempts made to explain the meaning of divine incarnation. The vast spirit, to begin with, would seem indeed to be conscious of mankind. Prayers have often been answered, many of them miraculously. Indeed, the concept of omnipresence implies infinitesimal smallness, quite as much as infinite immensity. The same is true of the concept of omniscience. As Jesus put it, the very hairs on your head are all numbered. God has appeared in vision to saints in every age. He has been seen as a light, heard as a sound, of many waters or of mighty thunder, felt as an overwhelming love or an infinite bliss. His light has taken on form, human or otherwise. To Moses he spoke out of a burning bush. His sound has become a voice and expressed itself in human speech. His love has been manifested in the radiant gaze of the Divine Mother, or of Jesus, or Krishna, or in many other divine manifestations of light and ecstatic consciousness. No such experience could ever define him, in the sense of limiting him. Yet every experience has manifested something of his infinite nature. God created everything. Everything, therefore, in a sense, is his manifestation. In superconscious experiences, however, his manifestation is special, for it does not conceal the indwelling spirit, it reveals it. Divine visions express God's will openly to man. They spiritualize whomsoever they touch. They are a conscious revelation of the divine reality in a way that material objects and unenlightened human beings can never be. God's superconscious manifestations in visions and the like are always fleeting, like the waves on a sea. As the waves in their movement and diversity recall us ever to the sea's vastness, so divine manifestations are intended to recall our minds to the vast reality they express. There is nothing strange in the thought of God manifesting himself in human form. He does so indeed, in a sense, every time he appears in vision to a saint. For through that saint's testimony, and through the magnetic influence of his ecstasy, the Lord becomes more of a vivid reality to others. God may be said to manifest himself through every saint who lives in a state of inner communion with him. Such a saint, then, who was born in a state of constant communion, because freed of the delusion of ego, may be said to be already, in a sense, an incarnation of the divine consciousness. If nothing remains of his limited ego, and if that master's consciousness is only of God's presence within, his very mission on earth is like a wave rising in full consciousness upon the surface of the infinite sea, expressing consciously not itself, but the vast sea around it. No wave could ever express that vastness perfectly, nor could any divine manifestation in human form be God's only, unique, human manifestation. God could no doubt manifest himself on earth directly. He could even materialize a human body and live forever among men, thereby giving people everywhere a living focus for their devotion. Were he to do so, however, he would distract people from seeking him in themselves, where alone he can be actually realized, and from expanding their little consciousness into his infinite bliss. Jesus reminded his disciples, the kingdom of God is within. The highest scriptural teachings are ever a reminder of this truth, namely, that God must be sought within man, not outside of him through the senses. No man is God. The wave cannot pretend to be the ocean. The ocean of divine awareness, however, which has become all the waves of physical phenomena, may be said to express itself consciously through those great souls whose consciousness is merged in the Lord. We too, as devotees, should strive always to, quote, incarnate the divine consciousness in our own lives. Let us live more by inner guidance. Let us strive to be channels of divine inspiration. Let us heed God's call in the soul to seek him, to know him, to merge in him. Thus may we find release from our age-old delusion of separateness from his infinite bliss. Thus, through the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You know, think about how many times we get caught up in our problems and forget that we are actually light beings, that we are actually spirit, and how often we have to repeat it over and over and over to ourselves to remember. I was thinking about that while we were chanting today, because it's so easy on this earth to get so caught up in what's going on around us in the planet, whether it's, global issues or micro issues of our own family and work and children. All these things we get caught up, and then we pray to God for help. Please help me. Please change this circumstance, or please change that circumstance. And it's kind of a focus that way. Even going to temple can often be, I'm going to go on Saturday so I can make sure Saturn's on my side, and I'm going to win his approval so that he's going to really bless something that I need blessed. And it's so separate from our actually realizing that when Krishna comes to earth, or when Christ comes to earth, or when Yoganandaji or any of our gurus come to earth, it's not just to grant us blessings or grant us self-realization or grant us this and that. They were like us once. Just contemplate that. They were all like us once, struggling with their karma, getting caught up in the world, and then, oh yeah, I'm spirit, you know. Oh yeah, when I meditate, I don't feel the world in the same way. And so they've come to remind us of this. They have come to guide us out of this. They've come to help us really attune with ourselves as spirit. Each of our techniques we teach, Hong Sa, energization, Om, Kriya, all of these techniques help us to remember that we are that spirit. I mean, my mind is boggled at how easy it is to forget this, and how often we need to just keep repeating it, you know. And when we hit a wall of challenge, it's only because matter consciousness is kind of winning over our consciousness more than our believing that we really are light and love, and that we really have the ability to have God flow through us in our everyday life. We forget that, and then we hit an obstacle in life, and we ram our heads against the obstacle, forgetting to ask God, what is your guidance in this? What do you want me to do in this? Help me remember that I am light and love. All we have to do is sit for a moment in meditation, and the memory starts flooding back again. If we can just sit and do that. And it's hard to do that in the middle of a traumatic situation or in the middle of drama happening in life. To just stop and say, wait a minute, I'm getting caught up into materialism. I'm getting caught up into believing that what I see, which isn't really solid matter, but it seems like it, is the reality. That this flesh is the reality. That the drama is the reality. But as soon as we stop and remember that we are the infinite, that Master is here to protect, support us as much as possible in believing that as much as we can. And only through the experience of meditation can we know this to be the truth. And even if we're beginners in meditation and we don't yet know it, or we knew it last week and today we don't know it, or we knew it last year. I remember when I had that great experience. What happened? Why don't I still have that great experience? It's because until we are fully committed, every cell of our body, not just mentally, but every cell of our body believes that we are channels of light, that we are light itself, that we are light and love. As soon as every cell of us believes that, then we won't have those blocks. Master said that the spiritual path is very hard in the beginning. That can mean for the first 20 years. You know? The beginning. And so it's hard in the beginning, but then it becomes very pleasurable. And it becomes very easy. Because we've spent all this effort over X amount of years to get all our little cells polarized in the right direction. All of our little thoughts polarized in the right direction. All our little desires, hopefully the attachments all snipped away in the heart. And getting everything in the right direction through meditation, through all the practices, through devotion, through chanting, through singing, through all the things we know that remind us of who we really are. And once we do remember that, boy, is it great, to have those experiences. Swamiji created Ananda for this. He didn't create it for himself. He didn't create it just because he thought, well, I've got a good theory. I think if a bunch of devotees get together, it could be a good thing. He had a passion inside of himself when Yogananda mentioned or actually proclaimed at a garden party in Beverly Hills, the most materialistic place I can imagine on earth. We've driven through there. We were laughing the other day because
She doesn't want to tell the story.
I don't. Because, we lived there. We lived in Hollywood. And so this is when we directed the Ananda Los Angeles Center. So we lived in Hollywood. That was the address. So there was one laundry machine or one laundry machine that everybody had to share. And I did not like to have to compete for the laundry machine. So some of us who didn't want to I've got my towels in first or anything like that, I would go to what's called a laundromat, which maybe I've seen one in Chennai that I've passed by, but I've never gone in. Basically, you put coins in a laundry machine, and you can have it, there can be 10 laundry machines. So if you have 4 loads, you can do all 4 loads at once. And then in the U.S. we have dryers also. So you put the load in, and you then put it in the dryer, and it takes about 2 hours. So I had done maybe 6 loads because I was including towels and sheets and everything, and I had it in the back of the car, and we had to do an errand in Beverly Hills, or we had to drive through, what was it? We had to drive through Beverly Hills for some reason. We thought it was so funny because here, Beverly Hills, the most, attached to materialism as you can think, and here we are with our laundry in the back, being very unsophisticated. Anyway, maybe that was a materialistic way to renounce materialism. But in any case, that's why we have ourselves together like this. That's why we come together and create a magnetism. It's almost as though, as soon as people start walking in the door, suddenly, sometimes people, you can tell they're coming in a funk. Not so happy today, or kind of moody, or whatever it is. But then as we sing, or as we chant, or whatever we do, suddenly you see, it's as though there's a tire pump, and you see people kind of going like this, and then, ooh, and I can't help it. I just feel like smiling now, And thank goodness. And it's not useless to feel that way, and then when you leave the door, deflate again. But the more we practice this, the more we can inflate ourselves. And, Swamiji really focused on saying, I am not the doer. He really focused on empowering others. Even though when you were in his presence, it was very, very uplifting. And some people would just want to be in his presence, to be uplifted. You see, that's like when people want to go and visit different saints. They'll go because they want to be uplifted. And someone who says, come to me and I will uplift you, that takes away your power to uplift through your own inner attunement. I'm not going to say through your own power, but it is through your willpower of commitment to attune to the vibration that's already there, and attune to that energy that already wants to inflate you. And yes, if we're down in the dumps, it really especially helps to just come here and have the tire pump and start again. Okay, this week I'm going to do better. But in actuality, when we begin practicing regularly, then over time it becomes very, very enjoyable. Over time we have that energy within us, and we know it, and over time we don't feel cut off from it. And that's why it's so helpful to have spiritual friends, because you have, whether you're a couple or whether you're just friends of each other, you can remind each other of this. Remind each other. I remember early on in the path, I had to have a serious discussion with someone, and I was really nervous about it. And my friend said, well, let's pray together. And so we did healing prayers about the situation ahead of time, and then everything went really smoothly. And so this is what we can do for each other. We can offer to pray together, or we can meditate together. All these things we can do to help uplift each other when we're going through a difficult time. And that's much easier than when someone says, yeah, I agree. That situation is horrible. And that person, oh my God, just stay away from them. That's a little different than a friend that says, I understand that's really hard. And I know how easy it is to feel like that's the reality. But let's meditate instead. And then as soon as we meditate, it's as though we're lifted above the difficulty enough so that we can see the reality enough and approach it in that different way. But we have to be reminded over and over and over. Can you believe how much we have to remind ourselves that? That's why we have these chants that go over and over and over and over. Because what happens after we're done with the chant? Oh my God, my problems. So it's like we just have to keep reminding ourselves. And when the mind is, right now it's Mercury in retrograde. I don't know if any of you follow these types of things, but Mercury in retrograde can make machines break down and communication break down. And so you might find your printer having problems even. You might find you try and say something, Rama's raising your hands, or your computer having problems. Something tries to come out of your mouth and you say it the wrong way, and then the other person is like, and so these things happen too, and it's like, oh my God, how did I say that? And then you try and fix it. Hi there, welcome. How can I fix that? And then the upside of Mercury in retrograde is sometimes it's easier to meditate during this time because the communication is trying to happen inwardly. So it's more about inward communication. The outward stuff, but the inward stuff, great. And so try that more during this time. It actually supports the inner communication more, and it supports inner, like, suppose you messed up, then pray for that person. Prayers can work extra nicely when it's a more inner mood of the day, that pray about it rather than speak aloud about it. These types of things can be helpful. It's also a good time to do things that have been building up, that you've been needing to do, that need to get done. Kind of a regressive thing that has to happen, something you should have done a long time ago and you haven't, and so go back and do it, and it'll support you to do that. You try and do something new and it'll block. You feel like, well, okay, today I'm going to start this new project. And it might not be the best time. You might feel that blocking energy, but if you finish up the old, it's a really good time to finish up the old. I'm not saying this out of superstition. For yourself, you can experiment and feel what the energy feels like during these types of situations. However, ultimately, the guru bypasses all astrology influences. If you can be one with the guru during this time, who cares whether it's Mercury retrograde? It doesn't matter. If we're one with the infinite, who cares? We're one with the infinite, it doesn't matter. But sometimes we're kind of in both things, and it doesn't hurt to cooperate with what one feels the energy is happening. And sometimes it's good to be aware, then we don't get frustrated, Why does the printer keep breaking? Why does my computer keep breaking? And instead of getting frustrated about it, it's like, oh, okay, om to the electronic equipment. Maybe it didn't get blessed enough. But it wasn't Pongo where we bless the electronics. Which one is it?
Saraswati Puja in the office.
Yeah. That's not for a while. But it still should have worked. It's a good affirmation, if anything. So, anyway, let's remember, as soon as the reality of the world creeps in and we forget who we truly are, just sit and meditate or chant. Do a little hang sa, do om. Remember who we are and accept that we need to just keep doing it over and over and over again until we're like surfing on a wave. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we surf on a wave for a month. And it was really easy for that month. Yay! It's going to be this way for the rest of my life. And everything's just going to be this way because I like it. And then, what happens when the wave is over, sometimes the surfer kind of crashes and that kind of thing. Sometimes the crash happens. And then we have to look for that new wave that we're going to surf. And just accept that inspiration comes one way for a while, then it comes another way for a while. We, as humans, get very attached to when something's feeling good, we want it to keep going. We don't want things to ever feel bad. And when it does, after things feel good, we can really crash our emotions. But if we're in that elevated state of meditation, we're much less touched by these ups and downs. And if we don't associate ourselves with these ups and downs, my life is up, my life is down, my life is up, my life is down. Don't associate with those ups and downs. It doesn't mean we become indifferent or obstinate towards life circumstances or, I don't care really, or it doesn't touch me. Mentally, we think that. Meanwhile, inside, the emotions are going up and down. We don't have to live like that either. So try and be with God consciousness. Keep that prayer energy going. Keep that affirmation that we're light, that we are love. And that's the reality also. We think, I've got to confront this, and I've got to say this, and I've got to do that. And really stop for a moment. Just stop for a moment. You can set your alarm every hour. Where's my consciousness? Where am I? Am I in the world, or am I feeling God doing things through me? And also feel that everything we do is a way to help in some way. Even if it's for a company, everything you do is to serve in that way. Everything is trying to do good somehow. Every job we have, we're trying to do good in somehow. Tune into the good. In everything we do, tune into the good that it's doing. When we're cooking, tune into the good of the cooking rather than the another thing to cook. Tune into the good in everything we're doing. Give it purpose and meaning. And especially just stop and listen to God's voice inside. He's always whispering to us. Always. Every moment. And if we can't hear that, it means we haven't stilled ourselves today or in the moment. So let's be still and listen and know how much God is flowing through us, and God is flowing through others as well. So we know that when God brings us a situation, it is from God. When we ever feel resentment about something, it means we don't trust that God brought us that situation. And so that's what we can work on. Resentment can be a way of figuring out, oh, I need to somehow see what the gift of this difficult situation is and how it came from God. And so think in your mind, where am I resentful in my life? It's good to get rid of those resentments. It's good to see each thing that comes to us as coming to us from God. And if that resentment is there, we got to work on that, because the resentment keeps us separate from God. It keeps our heart closed. And it keeps us separate from others as well. If we resent someone, it makes us very separate from them, when in actuality the same ocean animates all of us. And so it doesn't mean someone who's difficult becomes your best friend, but you certainly don't have to have that resentment element in there. Let people be who they are. And if they're playing the role of difficult person in this life, fine. But we don't have to be jerked around by their role in this Maya. They have their lessons to learn. We have our lessons to learn. But check in on those resentments. Really know. We know in our minds everything comes from God. Yes, I know this. Everything comes from God. Yes, it does. But I don't like this, and I don't like him, and I don't like her, and I don't, that kind of a thing. So those are the buts are the things we need to work on. And really get those cleared out. Why not? It's January. It's still kind of the beginning of the year. Take a little inventory. What's been bugging me lately? Let's get rid of the things that bug us. That doesn't mean they get rid of externally at all. But internally, get rid of those things. And those things can be washed away in a moment of bliss. They can be washed away in a moment of deep inner joy. They can be washed away in an Om meditation where you hear Om so strongly it's filling up your whole body. You forget your problems. You forget. And when you know that is coming upon you, ask for it to heal you fully. Ask for it to flow through and send healing energy to get rid of these outward attachments. Ask it to clear the heart and heal these attachments we have. And anyway, it's wonderful to share this path with everyone. It's wonderful that we get to share in the reality. It's very helpful when we can all meet together with like-minded individuals who all believe that. It's not like there's one person in the audience saying, really, my problems really are real. and what you guys are talking about is crazy. So luckily we don't have that. And instead, we've got this unity of mind, this unity of heart, of wanting God, wanting grace in our lives, and also wanting to share that with others. So God bless you all. I wanted to end with God's Boatman. This is a poem that Master wrote, very beautiful. I want to ply my boat many times across the gulf after death and return to earth's shores from my home in heaven. I want to load my boat with those waiting, thirsty ones who are left behind, and carry them by the opal pool of iridescent joy, where my Father distributes his all-desire-quenching liquid peace. Oh, I will come again and again, crossing 1,000,000 crags of suffering, with bleeding feet I will come, if need be, 1,000,000,000,000 times, as long as I know one stray brother is left behind. I want thee, O God, that I may give thee to all. I want salvation, that I may give it to all. Free me then, O God, from the bondage of the body, that I may show others how they can free themselves. I want thine everlasting happiness, only that I may share it with others. that I may show all my brothers the way to happiness, forever and forever in Thee.